Can spirometry detect residual volume? Why is body plethysmography important? What happens to the RV-TLC ratio in airway obstruction? Let's first understand the concept. Imagine your lungs as a box with two compartments. An upper compartment where air freely moves in and out during normal breathing, and a lower compartment where the air remains trapped no matter how hard you try to inhale or exhale. So with spirometry, we can measure the vital capacity, the amount of air you can breathe in and out. But what about the air in the lower compartment? That's the residual volume, the air that remains in the lungs after maximal exhalation. And since this air never leaves the lungs, spirometry cannot measure it. And because spirometry cannot measure residual volume, it also cannot measure total lung capacity or the functional residual capacity. Now imagine two clinical scenarios where the vital capacity is reduced. In the first scenario, the entire lung, the box is shrunken. So the vital capacity is low, residual volume is low, and TLC is also low. This is a classic restrictive lung disease. In the other scenario, the vital capacity is still low, but this time the residual volume is high, and so is the TLC. This happens in small airway diseases where air is getting trapped in the lower part of the lungs. In both cases, spirometry will tell you only one thing, and that is the vital capacity is reduced, but it cannot tell you why. It does not differentiate whether the lung is shrunken, like in restriction, or whether air is trapped, like in obstruction. So now when you do plethysmography, in the first scenario, you will find out RV is low and it's in proportion with TLC. In the second scenario, you will find out that RV is high and it forms a larger proportion of the TLC. So in restrictive disease, everything is low and proportional, but in obstructive disease, RV increases disproportionately because of air trapping. So three questions that you must know. The first one, can spirometry detect residual volume? No. Why is body plethysmography important? Because it measures residual volume and therefore gives you the total lung capacity and functional residual capacity. What happens to the RV-TLC ratio in airway obstruction with air trapping? The RV-TLC ratio increases because residual volume forms a larger proportion of total lung capacity. So that's all for today. See you in the next video with another concept.